I watched One Punch Man episode 6 at 0.5 times speed so that I could spot every single difference between its anime and its manga. And if you spot any differences that I missed, then please let me know in the Discord below. There's a link for it, you can hop on in and we all yap about all the differences before I post my video every Sunday. Anyway, like and subscribe and enjoy the video. The first difference I noticed is that the first shot we should get the inside of the Hero Association is a close-up of Child Emperor. Instead, in the anime, we get this panning shot of wide table, something we don't get till 3 panels later. Instead, opting for this close-up shot of Child Emperor after. When Elder Centipede appears on the hologram, it's supposed to be a close-up of the hologram and Pig God eating. However, they simply cut to the next panel and use that instead. In this shot of Super Alloy Darkshine and Pig God, we're supposed to see the hologram moving in front of them as they talk, but in this, it's simply absent. Also, as always, mark one difference down for Super Alloy Darkshine's change in design. The shots they use while Peri Prisoner is explaining the pain he went through is slightly different, but you know, it doesn't actually impact the moment in any meaningful way. In this shot, censorship is present because Zombie Man is supposed to be smoking. Also, in this shot, Zombie Man's belts are not supposed to be visible. He takes them off during this meeting for some reason. Not to mention the 2 chairs to Zombie Man's right are not supposed to be visible. This close-up of the hologram of Drive Knight is far more zoomed in than it is in the manga. The manga has other information regarding the situation surrounding him. The belts are now back on Zombie Man, even though they were gone before in the manga. There is a severe loss in toning detail on Tatsumaki's clothes. Murata do be kind of fiending for this character. Also, her hair curls are actually just facing the wrong way. They're supposed to curl to the left in this image. Instead, they curl to the right. Also, there's more detail in the background in the anime. In the anime, you actually can't see Super Alloy Darkshine's corner in this shot. Also, the stars all over Flashy Flash's costume are supposed to be dark in color, but in the anime, for some reason, they make them bright blue. Also, his sword is an entirely different style than it is in the manga. Her prisoner is supposed to have a shot alone of his hand shooting up, saying excuse me, then we cut to this panel. In this shot in the manga, we don't see Flashy Flash in the panel. Not to mention, Flashy Flash's sword is a arrowhead for some reason in this shot. And there's also a chair missing from the bottom right of the screen. In this shot in the manga, we don't actually get to see this whole lineup of the heroes on the top of the screen. We just get to see that he is actually directing this towards Atomic Samurai, and he does a kissy face. Minor change, but Flashy Flash's hair is supposed to fall under his cape here, but instead they have it lying over his cape. Once again, Murata's art changes a lot here. There's a lot less tonal detail on her, and the hair is very much off model in this shot. The art for Tatsumaki here is also once again off model. In the manga, she doesn't have any eyebrows, and her facial features are far more centralized into her face. In this shot, Zombie Man is supposed to be lighting his second cigarette. There's supposed to be a shot of Zombie Man making eye contact with Tatsumaki, but instead we just cut straight to a panning shot to Tatsumaki. In this panning shot, they actually skip over a few panels, mainly of Super Alloy Darkshine's reaction to its unbelievable size, with a perspective shot leaning from the top of the tower looking down at Super Alloy Darkshine, and then a close-up of the same perspective as his resolve hardens. They also skip over a shot of where Flashy Flash glares at Tatsumaki before having this shot here of this interaction. There's supposed to be a looming dark figure behind Child Emperor, but instead we just cut straight to the reveal, skipping over any era of mystery and dread that the previous shot gave. Instead, we simply just have, still image of Amai Mask entering. There's a lot of lack of detail here. There's supposed to be a lot of detail in his cross pendant and also just his clothes in general, but instead it's a complete flat tone. This is actually kind of strange because a lot of the time when Murata uses flat tones in the manga, they tend to, add a bit of spice and tone and texture to the fabric, but here they've done the total opposite. They skip over a panel of Child Emperor spinning his chair around to see My Mask face to face, instead cutting to him already being face to face, once again making a disconnect for the viewers. In this shot, it kind of just looks like it's the same from the last, but we don't have the added information that he had actually turned around to face him. This is a total anime original shot here. Not that it added a shot, but however, it did use a section from a previous shot as a close-up here, instead of having Child Emperor spin the chair back around to the table, nervous because he has to break the news to My Mask that he's not an attack team. They skip a zoomed out shot that was used to build anticipation from the manga, cutting straight to my mask reaction. Minor thing, Waitress's costume's a little different and her hair should be lighter, not to mention the fact that Super Ally Darkshine is supposed to be holding protein powder in his hand. We're supposed to be able to see Tatsumaki freaking out in the corner of this panel, as the line of sight is supposed to follow along the edge of the table. However, it is just a close-up of my mask standing further away from the table. And this is the shot that kind of annoys me the most in the entire episode. We're supposed to get this like really character driven like panel of Zombie Man looking up, being fed up with the situation and blowing out a huge lungful of smoke. Really imposing panel, but instead they just cut to the panel that comes after where he starts to monologue a little bit, removing that entire moment that really kind of emphasizes a lot of what Zombie Man is about, fed up with all the S-class bullshit and politics. Also, in this panning shot of his monologue, Child Emperor is not supposed to be visible. They skip over 2 panels in this transaction here. In the transaction where My Mask confronts Zombie Man about his origins and possible monsterization, they skip over 2 panels. One, Zombie Man's initial reaction, and then one of the final words My Mask says, before cutting to Super Ally Darkshine and Pig God. When My Mask starts this monologue here, it's supposed to be a close-up of Pig God absolutely devouring his bucket of cola. They skip an overhead panning shot of the stunned silence at My Mask's arrogance. It's supposed to be a reaction shot from Super Ally Darkshine before we see My Mask's freak out. There's supposed to be a close-up of Tatsumaki noticing that King's entering before the announcement goes off. They skip over a panel with My Mask and King. That's the start of this conversation. The expression on these characters here is totally different than it is in the anime. And also, this reaction is honestly pathetic. The emotion on the characters in the manga is so visibly clear. But in the anime, every single character's reaction shot to this news is that of boredom, other than My Mask. Everyone else, they look so completely disinterested. But in the manga, they're very clearly surprised by this information. The only person's art who is remotely on par is Tatsumaki. But not that we have any time to really react to this, because they're PNG cutouts that aren't even integrated to, form a decent animation together or graphic together. Simply slapped on screen without any form of intention or thought. There's supposed to be a reaction shot of Flashy Flash sigh with relief as My Mask leaves. There's supposed to be a close-up of King here after this image here. There's a lot more helicopters visible here in this shot than there is in the manga. Not to mention the design for said helicopters is entirely different. Instead of zooming straight into the panel that's inside the lift, we're supposed to get a close-up of Sitch's reflection on the glass as he's looking out and seeing the destruction of the landscape that previous monster fights have had in the area. Instead, they just have a normal close-up of Sitch talking. There's supposed to be a panel of Sitch turning around from looking out the window and then turning. The angle of this shot is entirely different than it is in the manga. Sure, it's roughly the same, but the angle at which we see these characters, the camera pans at a very different angle, and the room that they're also in is entirely different. We're supposed to get an introduction to all of the top rankers here, telling us their hero names and their rank, and a little about them. It's totally not present at all here in the anime. Instead, only using Needle Star to voice the opinions of the entire group. They're actually supposed to make any form of, physical reaction to this other than one person saying yippee without moving or changing their facial expression. And they're all supposed to thank Needle Star for voicing the opinion that they were all thinking. He's also just not supposed to be very happy about the enthusiasm. There's supposed to be a reaction panel of Silverfang seeing that someone is opening the door. Then it's revealed that it's King trying to hide, but instead they use it from the other side. King comes in, hides, and is relieved that he can hide. Then it's revealed that they're in the same room as Silverfang. Not to mention we missed 2 panels of his reaction to getting inside from the perspective of the hallway and him closing the door. The positioning of these 2 characters is wrong. They're supposed to be switched around. Bang on the left and King on the right. There's supposed to be a shot of Bomb going to pick up a newspaper and gathering the information that there is a child hostage, rather than King delivering that information. This shot is facing the wrong way. This shot is facing the wrong way. There's supposed to be a close-up of the liquor that is in the room with them. Once again, the positioning in this shot here is wrong. This shot of King closing the door is is not visible. We simply see him get up, say see you later, and then he's walking down the hallway. They're supposed to be actually walking forward in the shot, just saying. There's supposed to be a close-up of the Blizzard group in hospital, but that's not present here at all. There's supposed to be a close-up of Genos' jeans as he's walking from his waist down, facing the wrong way here. There's supposed to be a close-up of Genos' arms steaming with energy, then the close-up of his core exploding. This seems to be a lot of like fire and plasma, but in the manga it's simply just all lightning. This is when they use the close-up of the arm in the anime instead of having it before, because here we're supposed to see a close-up of Dr. Kusno and Genos. The perspective of this shot is very much different because Genos is supposed to be facing the stairs into the apartment, already starting to walk up in the same panel as Blizzard's reaction of being fed up with him. This entire conversation skips over multiple panels of perspective shots of them climbing the stairs to make this scene flow seamlessly into the next. However, they decide to simply show this outward shot of the apartment instead of actually showing us the characters that are talking. Here in the anime, Blizzard stands still. At no point in the manga does she stand still while climbing the stairs. Not to mention, the entire time she's climbing the stairs in the manga, she's holding her dress up so it doesn't get caught on the stairs. There's no shot of Genos standing here waiting for Blizzard to come up and follow him. He simply grabs the door and opens it and walks in. He makes a close-up of a full glass of water. Genos deduces that there might have been an emergency because Saitama would never leave a full glass of water sitting on the table alone. There's a close-up of Genos when we hear Bang and Blast enter in the manga. However, in this, they simply spin Blizzard's head round to achieve the same effect. They skip over another perspective shot from behind Fang and Bomb as they enter the apartment, instead cutting straight to the over-the-shoulder Genos panel. They skip over the fact that Bomb is the one to deliver the information that the Monster Association is nearby, and it's supposed to be a close-up of him. And that's pretty much the end of all the differences in this episode. Thanks for watching the video, the whole way through as well. And if you like this style of content, well, there's one for every episode in the series, and there will be one for every episode in this season. However, I am going to be covering some One Punch Man adjacent and non-One Punch Man content soon. If that's something you're interested, please let me know below, right? If you are willing to watch something other than One Punch Man, or if you're strictly watching this channel because of how I'm covering the new season. If that's the case, it's totally understandable. But I'm just wondering if you personally would be willing to watch something else if it is interesting enough. Please let me know in the comments below, because One Punch Man, I love it. This season hasn't been very fulfilling, to say the least. So covering it every day as a content creator is sort of hard. And also, these videos that I pump out are not very satisfying to make. So I'd really love feedback on my longer form content. Once again, thanks a million for watching the video. If you want to become a member, there's going to be loads of more member content out soon. There's only one out, but I basically explain everything that's up here in that video. And let me know when would be the best time for you if I was to stream. I want to stream me refurbishing some of these crappy figures I've bought on AliExpress that I'm gonna do up using all my Warhammer paints and methods I've learned from making Warhammers. So if that interests you as well, please let me know. Basically, comment below any of the things I've asked you to do today. That would be great. I'm not doing this for engagement bait. I just need that information. Or you can just join the Discord. Join the Discord and then you don't have to leave a comment at all. You should leave a comment. It really helps.